Today on What It's Like, we are back at Street Machinery, Hot Rods, and Classic Cars located in Elucid, Ohio to take a look at this 1965 Chevy C10 pickup truck. But before we dive in with all the specs and what have you, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like. This channel, we feature the classics, vintage, some exotics, lots of orphan cars, cars that are off the beaten path. This channel, we dive in, we give specs and perspectives not often shown. If that sounds of interest to you, subscribe. Hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. Also, be sure to give us a like if you dig this channel and you dig the content so more people can see this video in the future. Before diving in deep with this one, because we're going to hit everything that you need to know about the C series, a little bit of background. So before the year 1960, Chevy used a numeric system to define their trucks. Say, for instance, 3100 series would have been a half ton, 3200 was half ton, 3600 was 3/4 ton, and so on. They replaced that numeric system with a C and then a 10. So half ton was C10, then you could get a half ton with like a bigger, beefier suspension, C20. C30 was 3/4 ton. 1 ton was C40, etc. A lot of times you'll see this labeled as C/K series. Let's talk about what the K stands for. 1957, Chevy offered four-wheel drive. They needed a way to market that. That's where the K comes in. So if you got a K10 or K20, that's a half-ton truck. K30 is a 3/4 ton truck. K40 is a 1 ton truck. K, all it stands for is four-wheel drive. So that brings us to the meaning of the C. If you see C10, it's a two-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive truck. Let's talk Chevy C10. Chevy produced the C10 from 1960 to 2002 in 4 generations. 1960 to 1966 was the very first generation. Both the C and the K series truck replaced the Task Force generation of trucks. This was the first General Motors pickup truck that was developed and dedicated on a truck platform, because in years prior, it was a GM A-body platform that the trucks were derivated from. Designed by Duke Harley Earl. No surprise here, but the first generation C-Series trucks used a body-on-frame construction. With an interesting twist, they adopted a drop center design. On the half-ton and 3/4 ton trucks, they used a hybrid of the X-frame with a perimeter frame layout, while the 1 ton trucks used a drop center ladder frame. Although this design was more complex than anything else on offer, the drop center frame was stronger. Other benefits included the cab was mounted 7 inches lower, making it easier to get in and out of the truck. The redesign also allowed for a lower center of gravity, which improved stability. Let's talk specs. 71.75 inches tall, 78.75 inches wide, and the length and wheelbase are variables on this truck. So if you're a buyer and you're looking for a half-ton truck with a 6.5-foot bed, the wheelbase would be 115 inches, 127 inches for a half-ton and 3/4 ton trucks with 8-foot beds, and 133 inches for a 1 ton truck that had a 9-foot bed. Some buyers opted for the step-side bed, others got the fleet-side bed, and the difference is step side, with the sides of the bed, they aren't straight. There is a step in the front of the wheel well on both sides, giving the impression or making the rear wheels look more pronounced, and it's very noticeable. The fleet side bed is totally straight. There is no tire bulge from the bed region. One could get the flat bed or stake bed. The only caveat was with the C10, it was single wheel drive in the back. If you wanted a dually, you had to step up to get a C20. They also offered the C10 as a wagon/panel van in a short base and a long wheelbase. Side note, so I was talking to a friend the other day about Model A's. I have seen a Model A delivery van, but I've never seen a double A. That is the long wheelbase. Super rare. They're like 11 or 12 feet of storage space in the back. I've never seen one in person. Have you? In the comment section below. Going back to the topic of the fleet side versus step side bed situation. If you got this step side bed situation, the wheels are on the outside of the bed making the bed only 50 inches wide, 17.5 inches tall. Fleet side beds, because the wheel wells are inside the bed itself, gives you a load area of 72 inches, 19 inches tall. You got 50 inches between the wheels. So the wheel wells don't change, but you could put stuff up on top of the wheel wells in the fleet side bed. Just pointing that out. Getting back to a few specs, because we went on a bit of a tangent there. Weighs. Now the weight is going to depend on a lot of different factors. If you got a dolly, it's going to weigh more. If you got a longer bed, it's going to weigh more. So this is just a baseline figure. 3,200 pounds. Price is the same thing. It's just a baseline figure. $2,060, which was equivalent to you spending $19,377.80. That would be a bargain today, because the cheapest truck on sale in America is the Ford Maverick, allegedly, because they were supposed to retail for $19,995 with the hybrid engine, but I can't find one for that price. Can you? All right, moving on to engines. 230 cubic inch displacement, inline six, 3.8 liters, making 140 brake horsepower at 4,200 RPM. Bore of 3.9 inches and a stroke of 3.3 inches. Compression 8.5 to 1. Features 7 main bearings. Cast iron block, is fed with a single barrel carburetor. Moving up the ladder to the 292 cubic inch displacement, inline six, 4.8 liters, makes 170 horsepower at 4,000 RPM, 275 foot-pounds of torque at 1,600 RPM. Bore 3.6 inches, stroke of 4.1 inches, compression 8 to 1, 7 main bearings, cast iron block, fed with a single barrel carburetor. Moving up the scale, next engine on offer was a 283 V8, 4.6 liters, 195 brake horsepower at 4,800 RPM, 285 foot-pounds of torque at 2,400 RPM, with a bore of 3.9 inches and a stroke of 3 inches, compression 925 to 1, 5 main bearings, cast iron block and head, fed with a 2-barrel carburetor. All right, moving on to the last engine on offer. 327 cubic inch displacement V8, 5.4 liters, makes 275 brake horsepower at 4,800 RPM, 355 foot-pounds of torque at 3,200 RPM, with a bore of 4 inches and a stroke of 3.3 inches. Compression was 1025 to 1. The construction of the block material was cast iron, and it was fed with a 4-barrel carburetor. Let's talk transmissions. 3 transmissions on offer. The standard transmission was a 3-speed synchro mesh unit that was on the column. One could opt and get a 4-speed stick on the floor, or the 2-speed power glide was also available. Just check out this door design. Looks very symmetrical. And just look at how thick that is for reference. It's all steel. No cardboard panelings on this one. Door cards, I should say. Door handle to get out. Window crank for the window. And that's what the window looks like. Vent window. And notice this one doesn't have a push button on it. Look at the cab design back here. Look at how that overhangs. This is where the gas goes. That's all it is. It almost looks like a radiator cap. Almost. That's what the behind the seat looks like. Coming down to the pedal box down here, notice this is the emergency brake, high beams, clutch, brake, gas pedal. On to the button switches and knobs, starting with all the knobs that are protruding outward. There are 3 black knobs. The very first one's for the lights, wipers, choke. Right above that, there are 2 temperature lights. One is for cold, one is for hot. Then there is a generator light Above the generator light, there is the speedometer. It's the rectangular style. Odometer right below it. Oil, idiot light, fuel, gauge. It's amazing that they didn't put a fuel idiot light in there whenever you're out of fuel and it just shows you a light. That would be Chevy for you in the 60s. Ignition switch is right below that. Coming back and looking at the steering wheel center. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they had two different types of steering wheels. I think this is the more basic steering wheel. In the comment section below. So just check out the visibility, and this is what behind the steering wheel looks like. I guess as a first view impression. There's one sun visor for the driver. No courtesy mirror. The ceiling is really high in this truck. It's another thing I forgot to mention on some of these older trucks. There isn't any insulation, so it echoes. Look at how much headroom there is. There's like a foot, maybe foot and a half. Lots of room underneath the steering wheel. This is a vent to allow more air in. Radio delete, there's no radio there. I'm not sure what goes here, but that was deleted as well. It's just to give you an idea how high the ceiling is. It's absolutely massive in here. In the greenhouse, there's a lot of glass, so it's, and the windshield sort of curves just a wee bit there. Visibility is excellent in this truck. The only thing that I wish it had the corner windows like my truck had, but they stopped doing that in the 50s. All right, on to the glove box test. Subject, glove box. There's enough room for two of them in that glove box. It's absolutely massive. All right, moving up to the under the hood section. The hood lever's right here. Very straightforward. Notice how much hood there is. This whole piece is hood. Let me take a step back so you can see what that looks like. Straight six. Looks like they upgraded the master cylinder to a dual master cylinder. No power brakes though. Has an alternator on it. This one doesn't have power steering, it doesn't look like. On to the pros and cons. I generally get all of the pros and cons from the Complete Book of Collectible Cars, Blue Chip Auto Investment, 70 Years from 1930 to 2000 by Richard M. Langworth and the Auto Editors of Consumer Guide. Unfortunately, this truck isn't in that book, which begs the question, how complete is the Complete Book of Collectible Cars when a lot of these cars aren't in it? Anyway, so I had to make my own pros and cons list. Pros. Huge interior. When I was in this truck, it reminded me of the 1950s Dodge that I reviewed not too long ago, in the way that it does not look that big from the outside, but it's absolutely huge on the inside. Parts in good supply, lots of club support. These engines are virtually bulletproof. On the cons, I could only come up with one con. It has that love it or hate it styling. Some would say the styling of this truck is the face that only a mother could love, and other people love the styling of this truck. On to name that tune. First person to give me the name of the band and or artist as well as the song title will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. Thank you all so much for all of the support. I do really appreciate you all coming out and watching this. If you need to contact me for any reason whatsoever, leave me a comment in the comment section. I read every single comment that I get. Also, be sure to check out the Facebook group. Link is in the description. Until next time, toodaloo!